Actors, experts, and community members are turning to a classic play to address contemporary trauma and tensions from the pandemic. Jeffrey Brown has this look as part of our new series, Art in Action, exploring the intersection of art and democracy. It's part of our ongoing arts and culture coverage, Canvas.
Yesterday, you said that the water supply was contaminated by impurities in the soil.
Yes, exactly. The source is undoubtedly the toxic swamp up in Milldale.
A major health crisis has been discovered. The water in a local spa is contaminated. Lives and the economy are threatened. The public must be told, or should it?
We must bury it for the good of the people.
Who decides, and who decides what actions, if any, to take? At stake, public health and democracy itself.
This play is about a public health catastrophe that was in the late 19th century, in 1882. I mean, it's made up, but it could be today. And it creates the context where we can talk about not just what just happened over the last 4 years, but how do we ensure that it doesn't happen again?
Let's do the first couple pages.
Brian Dories is founder and artistic director of Theater of War Productions, which turns to ancient and classic plays to explore and spur discussion of contemporary issues and trauma.
He has the 1,000-yard stare.
We watched in 2010 as he used Greek tragedy that still speaks to the rise in suicide rates in today's military, presented at a base.
You have both spoken well.
Yes.
And in 2016, in a Missouri community torn apart after the killing of a young black man, Michael Brown, in Antigone and Ferguson.
Because there is nothing shameful in loyalty to a brother.
I see it as a form of mediation. These ancient texts that we perform, or the classical plays we perform, create a kind of vocabulary for people to talk about hard things.
Now a pandemic that took well over 1 million lives in the U.S. alone. Uncertain, at times chaotic government responses, masks weaponized, public health officials threatened.
Concoct all those conspiracies you can think of.
Here, seen through the lens of an enduring 19th century play, An Enemy of the People, by Heinrich Ibsen, about a doctor named Thomas Stockman who wants to protect his community.
They'll all have my back if things get ugly, Catherine.
But who, in the process, reveals his own biases and flaws and becomes both hero and enemy. It was presented recently in what Dories referred to as a Temple of Experts, the National Academy of Sciences in Washington, D.C., in a reading by top actors, including David Strathairn.
This might just do nobody any good.
Known for such films as Good Night and Good Luck, which brought an Oscar nomination for Best Actor.
That's Jason Bourne.
And for the blockbuster Bourne movies, here playing Dr. Stockman.
He's a hero. He could be a civic servant, civil servant, a doctor, and do no harm, and that's what he's trying not to do.
You're calling him a hero, but then in the play, many see him as
an enemy.
As an enemy.
Yeah.
Did that resonate for the way you see things today, or things you see?
Yeah. Yeah. In a word, yeah. I mean, there's so many more issues than just him being an enemy. It's about the press, the media,
the money,
the politics of the situation, which are, it goes without saying how present those things are in our lives today.
Well, the Barksdale case was a successful prosecution.
Like Strathairn, actor Frankie Faison, best known from The Wire and the Hannibal Lecter films, has joined many Theater of War projects over the years.
I get a chance to work with amazing actors and amazing texts, scripts that are just brilliant. You got a chance to exercise that vocal thing without any pressure. We don't have to worry about critics being on top of us saying you did this. It's a sharing, and we share this information, and then through that sharing, it opens up a conversation with the audience that just blows our mind.
This audience included many in the public health community, several of whom took part in the performance from the audience, including Professor Jeffrey Kahn, director of the Johns Hopkins Berman Institute of Bioethics, here playing a drunken citizen.
I don't think we all appreciated that public health professionals would be attacked for their views. It's never happened in our lifetime.
That's right.
But here's Ibsen, who wrote a play in 1882, writing about exactly that.
But there's a twist. Here, the health experts play average citizens, angry about the upheaval to their lives that the doctor is proposing.
We are taking the position of shouting down the experts, so it's a bit of a turning of the tables.
Yeah, how does that feel?
It feels uncomfortable, and I think that's exactly the point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Vivian Pinn, the first full-time director of the NIH Office of Research on Women's Health, has been through such battles. To her, Dr. Stockman was right in his science, but wrong in his interaction with the community, insulting the townspeople for not recognizing his expertise or following his demands.
How in God's name can it ever be right for the wise to be ruled over by fools?
I was really kind of concerned when I was reading the script for this play at some of Dr. Stockman's comments about the lower class, the poor, the dirty. And I was thinking, yipes, what we're really focusing on today in public health is being able to interact with the community, get the community involved in what we're doing.
Still, she says, the tension hits home.
Yeah, he's not right in everything he says, but gee whiz, don't you want to listen to the truth?
Such questions were then taken up by panel members, an emergency services paramedic lieutenant.
During the pandemic, which this play resonates so deeply with, there was such certainty in the way people spoke that they planted the seeds of the automatic response when people speak from such certainty of, how do you know what you're talking about? I know I didn't know what I was seeing. I saw it front line. I was going to, on average, 10 to 13 cardiac arrests a day. I didn't know what was going on. How do they know?
Former NIH director Dr. Francis Collins.
I'm always looking to find a hero. I always feel like there ought to be one. I didn't find one in this play.
A local business owner.
But how do you gain back the trust of officials and government and people that are in charge that, you know, that you believed in the beginning?
And members of the audience.
As much as we want a hero, heroes do not monopolize truth, capital T. They may have a slice of truth.
Full disclosure, I'm a Catholic priest. Yeah. This idea of learning how to trust each other again, which means learning how to love each other again, and recognizing that that is going to involve humility, of people recognizing they're wrong.
I was struck by the absence of independent press in this play. You know, a free press is essential to a democratic society.
Ultimately, just as in real life, the public health crisis in the play becomes a test of democracy itself. In fact, says Brian Dories,
I think the core critique isn't of public health. It's, can this kind of democracy work?
Right.
And we're entering 2024 with a giant crowd scene with people screaming at a stage and chanting vile things at someone who's trying to help them, who then chants vile things back at them. Yeah. It seems like an appropriate place to start this election year and to be framing conversations.
Doctor, enough!
Following the National Academy of Sciences performance, Theater of War Productions took An Enemy of the People to audiences in rural Ohio. Next stop, outdoors, in New York's Times Square on June 12th. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown in Washington, D.C.